Hello everyone, this is Earth Archives. When it comes to scandals, nothing should attract more attention than royal scandals. In this issue, we will take a look at 8 famous royal scandals. In fact, these people are not that noble, and their moral character may even be lower than that of ordinary people. Before the show starts, please subscribe, share, and turn on the little bell. This will help us grow faster. 1. The suspicious death of Amy Robsart, 1560. Well, gather round, folks, and let me spin you a yarn about love, power, and a scandal that rocked the very foundations of Elizabethan England. This tale isn't for the faint of heart, so if you're ready, I'll begin. Our protagonist, none other than the formidable Queen Elizabeth I, ruler supreme of England. A headstrong monarch who wore the crown like it was made just for her fiery red hair. She wasn't about to share her throne or her bed, mind you. But hark. In the midst of her court was a dashing figure, the Earl of Leicester, known to friends and foes as Robert Dudley. Handsome, quite charming, you bet. Married, unfortunately, yes. But that little ring on his finger didn't stop him from being the Queen's master of horse and perhaps a bit more. Enter Christine Hart-Vague, a modern-day scribe, who penned down the highs and lows of one Amy Robsart. Dudley's Mrs. Amy had a story that was cut tragically short. Picture this, a young lass of just 28, found sprawled at the base of her mansion's stairs, neck broken, life snuffed out. The date was September 8, 1560, a day murkier than a London fog. An accident, declared the coroner. Balderdash, cried the whisperers and gossip mongers. Dudley, our Queen's rumoured paramour, didn't even show face at his own wife's funeral. So, let the history books note it. The scandal of Amy's end sealed Dudley's fate, as an unmarried love-lorn soul in the annals of the Queen's court. And Queen Elizabeth, she remained the Virgin Queen, her crown forever her one true consort. 2. Count Philip Christoph von Königsmarck disappears after royal affair, 1694. Well, now, let me tell you the sort of tale that would make even the most pious of courtiers clutch their pearls. It's a story of passion, power, and a prince's paranoia, all wrapped in the threads of royal bedsheets. Once upon a dim and dreary chapter of history, Princess Sophia Dorothea of Celle, a lady of fine repute and even finer lineage, tied the knot with her cousin, King George I of England. 'Twas the year 1682 when they exchanged vows, but if you're expecting sonnets of love, best brace yourself for disappointment. Poor Sophia soon fell out of favour with the king's mum, a matron with a grip tighter than a miser's fist, and her indifferent hubby, Georgie boy. As these stories often go, the princess's lonely heart did flutter for a dashing Swedish count, one Philip Christoph von Königsmarck by name. Handsome as a midsummer sunset and suave as a velvet cloak, he had our dear Sophia all starry-eyed and plotting to elope. The king, madder than a March hare, did what any self-respecting monarch of the time would do, divorced our damsel and cooped her up in a gilded cage, which they fancied calling prison, for the rest of her natural life. So there dwelt Sophia, in her lonely tower, a princess with a tale as tragic as any, and Königsmarck, nothing but a shadow in the mist of whispers and scandal. As for George, well, he lived and ruled, free from the bonds of inconvenient love, his heart as cold as the stone walls that trapped his once beloved wife. 3. The Diamond Necklace Affair, 1784-5. Oh, pull up a chair, my dear reader, for I have a tale that weaves through the gilded halls of Versailles, dripping with intrigue, deception, and diamonds, a tale so intoxicating, it could only belong to the ill-fated Marie Antoinette. Our story begins not with a princess or a queen, but with a necklace. But not just any necklace, mind you. A dazzling concoction of diamonds that could blind a man with its brilliance, made for Madame du Barry, the saucy mistress of the late King Louis XV. But, as fate would have its cruel way, the king left this mortal coil before the bill was settled, plunging our hapless jewelers into despair. Into this jeweled turmoil steps one Jeanne de Valois Saint Remy, an ambitious lass with eyes bigger than her pockets. She dubbed herself the Comtesse de la Motte, whispering of Valois' blood flowing through her veins, a claim as thin as the soup at a pauper's wedding. Her target, none other than the unsuspecting Cardinal de Rohan, estranged from Marie Antoinette's good graces and yearning for a way back in. A plan as devious as a fox in the henhouse was hatched by La Motte. She would be the Cardinal's secret courier to the Queen, a bridge over troubled waters, so to speak. A clandestine rendezvous in the moonlit gardens of Versailles, with a hired harlot masquerading as the Queen herself. Our Cardinal, blinded by ambition, and perhaps lust, secured the necklace on an easy payment plan, while La Motte and her scoundrel of a husband made off to London, diamonds in tow. And so, my friends, a necklace not worn but born of deceit, played its part in the tragic tale that led the last Queen of France to the guillotine's unforgiving blade. A tale of opulence, deception, and the fall from grace so steep, it could only end with the whisper of a blade and the fall of a crown. The Mayerling Incident, 1889. Gather round for a tale that echoes through the corridors of castles, a story cloaked in the damask of royalty yet stained with the darkest ink of tragedy. It was a cold winter's dawn on January 30, 1889, when an ill-fated love story met its grim finale in the secluded hunting lodge of Mayerling. At the heart of our tale stands Crown Prince Rudolf, heir to the vast and glittering Austro-Hungarian Empire, a man born with a silver spoon yet burdened with a heart too heavy for his royal mantle. By his side, young Baroness Maria Vetsera, a maiden fair, ensnared in a clandestine dance of doomed affection with the prince. Their love, hidden in the shadows, was a secret melody, melancholic and sweet. Amid the rich tapestries and hunting trophies, the prince, in a moment of despair as dense as the winter fog outside, took the life of his young lover before turning the cold, merciless steel upon himself, an act so shocking, it sent ripples through the empire's very foundations. Emperor Franz Joseph I, Rudolf's father, cloaked in the regal vestments of power, moved swiftly to shroud the scandal. Documents, letters, whispers of truth were buried beneath layers of royal decree, as if the very ink could be erased from history. Yet, the veil of secrecy could not silence all tongues. Enter Crown Princess Stephanie, Rudolf's wife, a woman scorned not just by infidelity but by destiny's cruel hand. Amidst her own heartache, she revealed to the world her husband's final words penned to her. "You are relieved of my presence and vexations. Be happy in your own way. I go calmly to my death." Words that bared the soul of a man ensnared by his demons, seeking solace in the eternal sleep. The Kotzer Scandal, 1891. Now, if you thought the royal theatrics ended with Mayerling, you've got another thing coming. Roll out the red carpet for a scandal so salacious it would have the quills of the tongue's gossips snapping in half. The year was 1891, and Jagdschloss Grunewald, another hunting lodge that had no business being this exciting, turned into a den of decadence. Imagine Princess Charlotte, yes, the sister of none other than Kaiser Wilhelm II, as the hostess with the mostest. She turned the place into the backdrop of exploits so racy, they could singe the edges of propriety. Aristocrats were cavorting in ways that would have the fictitious Lady Whistledown, doyen of scandal sheets, fanning herself in disbelief. A series of anonymous letters, saucy enough to make a sailor blush, hit the scene detailing who did what, with whom, and in what scandalously unroyal positions. These weren't just words, mind you, some graphic artist had gone to town with illustrations. Not one to take a scandal lying down. Upon his release, Kotzer went full swashbuckler mode. He threw down the gauntlet and challenged his fellow aristocratic revelers to duels. I mean, talk about defending your honor, right? Sadly, this is where our tale takes a dark twist, as Kotzer met his match and his end in the very duel meant to clear his name. Now, who would be so daring as to spill the regal beans? Many a whisper and pointed finger suggest none other than Princess Charlotte herself. But just like in every good mystery, the true snitch behind these racy revelations remains as elusive as a ghost in the night. 6. Edward VIII's abdication, 1936. Once upon a time in the colourful pages of British history, there was a monarch who shook things up like a royal-sized earthquake. Meet Edward VIII, the original king of controversy. This dude was no ordinary king. He was the first one to willingly say, "Nah, I'm good," and pass the crown to someone else. Now, rewind to 1936, when the world was all abuzz about King Edward's choice of arm candy. He had his eye on Wallis Simpson, an American heiress with a story juicier than a ripe peach. Twice divorced and still technically hitched to husband number 2 when she caught the king's eye, Wallis was like a walking scandal waiting to happen. You see, Edward was not just any old king. He was also the big cheese of the Church of England. And that church wasn't too keen on folks getting hitched more than once. So when Edward popped the question to Wallis, it was like lighting a match near a powder keg. Prime Minister Stanley Baldwin was all up in arms, threatening to drop his mic and walk out if Edward went through with it. The whole country was glued to their newspapers, and then, bam! On December 10, 1936, Edward did the unthinkable. He chucked the crown and said, "Sayonara, suckers." After tying the knot with Wallis in 1937, the ex-king took off on his honeymoon to Nazi Germany. And who does he meet there? None other than the big shots themselves, Hermann Göring, Joseph Goebbels, and even Hitler. Talk about a honeymoon to remember. So there you have it, folks. Edward VIII, the king who gave up his throne for love, or was it something more sinister? You decide. 7. Juan Carlos I of Spain shoots his 14-year-old brother dead, 1956. Gather round, folks, for a tale of tragedy, intrigue, and royal ruckus that'll make your jaw drop. Picture this: Spain, 1956. A young prince, just 14 years old, is caught in the crossfire of a family drama straight out of a Shakespeare play. Meet Infante Alfonso, the unlucky lad who found himself staring down the barrel of fate. One fateful night, a gunshot rings out, and before you know it, Alfonso's taking a bullet to the forehead. But here's the kicker: the trigger wasn't pulled by some masked villain, it was his own flesh and blood. Yep, you heard me right. His own big bro, Juan Carlos, fired the shot that changed everything. Now, imagine the scene: chaos, panic, and a father's heart breaking as Infante Juan rushes in to find his son bleeding out. But alas, it's too late. Alfonso slips away, leaving behind a family torn apart by tragedy. Despite the shock and grief, the powers that be chalk it up to a tragic accident. No autopsy, no questions asked. Just a young prince laid to rest, his father tossing the gun that stole his life into the deep blue sea. Fast forward to 2014, and Juan Carlos, now king, decides to take a step back from the throne. And why, you ask? Well, let's just say he had a knack for stirring up trouble. Financial scandals, whispers of corruption, you name it, Juan Carlos had it all. And as if that wasn't enough, 2020 rolls around, and Juan Carlos bids adios to Spain, leaving behind a legacy tarnished by scandal and controversy. Queen Elizabeth's Annus Horribilis, 1992. Alright, folks, buckle up for a rollercoaster ride through the royal drama of 1992, a year Queen Elizabeth II dubbed her Annus Horribilis, and boy, was it a doozy. Picture this: it's 92, and the royal family is in the eye of a storm of epic proportions. First up on the disaster list, not one, not two, but 3 royal divorces. Yep, you heard me right. Prince Andrew, Princess Anne, and the big man himself, Prince Charles, all decided to call it quits on their marriages. Talk about a royal love triangle gone wrong. Next thing you know, Windsor Castle, the crown jewel of royal residences, goes up in flames. Can you imagine the chaos? And if that wasn't enough to send Her Majesty reaching for the smelling salts, along comes Andrew Morton's bombshell book, Diana, Her True Story. Morton didn't just dish out gossip. He dropped truth bombs left, right, and center, exposing Prince Charles's love affair with Camilla Parker Bowles and shining a light on Princess Diana's struggles with mental health. Suddenly, the royal family's squeaky clean image was looking a little worse for wear. We're talking about leaked conversations between Diana and her secret lover, James Gilby, and even juicier chats between Charles and Camilla. The media had a field day, giving catchy nicknames like Squidgy Gate and Tampon Gate, based on the steamy details from the calls. So there you have it, folks. 1992 was the year the royals went from majestic to messy faster than you can say, God save the Queen. It was a wild ride, and one thing's for sure, the monarchy would never be the same again.